Welcome back to the Madison Advisory AI podcast. I'm your host, Amanda Varner Thompson, founder of Madison Advisory AI. Today's conversation sits at the intersection of capital, technology, and long cycle company building. I'm joined by John Serri, chairman of EyeQue, a company he founded to rethink how vision testing is delivered using smartphones, optical hardware, and telemedicine infrastructure. What makes this story interesting is not just the technology. IQ was built over nearly a decade without traditional venture backing, scaled through multiple market cycles, and is now being actively repositioned both operationally and strategically in the current environment. That includes a full reset of cost structure, a shift in leadership, and a deliberate move to integrate AI across the business, not as a concept, but as a tool to improve usability, reduce support burden, and enable scale. At the same time, the company is at an inflection point, determining the next phase of growth and what that actually looks like. Today is a conversation about what it really takes to build and rebuild in healthcare, where regulatory constraints, distribution challenges, and capital discipline all matter. John, welcome. I'm glad we could do this.
Thank you for inviting me on, Amanda, and very nice introduction into a host of very important issues.
Yeah, I think there's a lot we'll be able to capture here today. But to start off, I think our listeners would really like to learn more about IQ and what problem were you really trying to solve when you built IQ? And how has that evolved?
The problem that we were trying to solve was a very pragmatic business problem. And the idea was to be able to test vision online in a simple way to get an accurate refraction. This is the actual measurement of the refractive error and therefore the correction needed. And then to be able to use those numbers to directly order eyeglasses online. This
Okay.
was the concept that we started with. That's the idea.
And how has that evolved since the company started?
Well, we built the technology, and the technology works quite well. In fact, so we started the company back in 2015. It's probably important for me to say something about the founder of the company other than myself.
Mm-hmm.
He really drove the vision and the business requirement more than I did. But we've evolved in number one, that taking eye tests online is very nice, but there are constraints, of course. There's business barriers that have to be dealt with. There's possible regulatory issues that come up with this type of technology. So we've dealt with those over the years. So one of the things we have done is we've evolved into, would say, more of a telemedicine service. So we actually can use our technology or use other people's technology integrated into a secure digital type platform, which is compliant to some of the requirements, such as, the privacy requirements,
Mm-hmm.
and to be able to get that information over to doctors through the internet, so to speak, and that they can approve actual eyeglass prescriptions for people. We run this mostly in the US, although IQ has a large international footprint. So we've evolved the business that way. So we have many, many thousands of persons who've used our service. We started out as a pure D2C play, direct to consumer play. We still have a strong D2C component, and I like that component. It's nice to, directly help people and see the benefit. But we have also evolved to a model where we work through optical stores that offer our services and our telemedicine platform. So there are many small optical stores in the US that they're run by opticians generally, not necessarily optometrists. In many cases, they are run by optometrists. But the idea is that you can use this technology as a way to do a sort of load balancing for work. If the optometrist is out for a while, you can use our services to do that. A lot of people come into an eyeglass store and they say, gee, I want eyeglasses. Those are beautiful. You say, well, okay, what's your prescription? And they say, I don't have a prescription, or I lost my prescription, or I haven't been to the eye doctor in so many years, or so on and so forth. So you just, in the US, you just cannot simply give them a simple autorefractor test and give them glasses, although that does happen. And in fact, that works quite well in many parts of the world. That is
Mhm.
what is the normal practice. I would eventually see that happening in the US. But in the US, it's somewhat more regulated. You need to have a prescription from a licensed doctor, either an optometrist or an ophthalmologist, to be able to order eyeglasses. So
And
that's
you now provide that service
we
within
provide that
EyeQue.
service.
So
That's
how do
correct.
you generate revenue? Is it from selling the device itself and then with
There's
this
there's a couple streams. So we sell the device itself, and the actual device is quite simple optically. So my cost to manufacture it is low. I won't go into any specific
no, no
numbers,
worries.
but so we sell it directly, the device, and we have a number of devices. And actually, we have registered with the FDA 7 different type of optical devices. So what we do is we make some money that way. We also charge a subscription fee. So to use our platform, the user has to pay $29 per year, which is a modest payment. I think we can probably charge more for it. But again, um, we haven't really tested exactly that market. We've been running that type of service for about 6 months now. And um, we have people from 2017 who still use our device every day. So we have there's a stickiness associated with using IQ that maybe I can get into a little later. So the second stream is subscription revenue from users directly from the direct to consumer. And then we also have subscription fee to the optical stores or digital healthcare providers that use our system. So they have to pay a monthly fee to get access to our platform. And then we also charge for per prescription. There's a fee associated with that, and we also have to pay the doctor. So there's a number of flows going on, but it's those are probably the four major streams. We have done some licensing for some of our apps. That's a potential stream in the future, but we have not grown that stream very much at this time.
And we are the Madison Advisory AI podcast, so I will dive into AI eventually down the stream
Yeah.
of thought here. But before we go into that, what what made you rethink the business model as it was operating and decide to change or veer into perhaps a different direction?
Yeah, that's a good question. One is just it has to do with the people in the company, including myself. We're very technological in orientation, so we like to play with things. We like to explore new ideas. Over the years, the company's generated 35 patents. About 20 or so have been granted so far. We have a number of others in process. So one of the things that made us do more things is innovation. Uh, Also, there was a desire, um, eyes we see in a binocular fashion, right? This is a monocular device. You test one eye at a time. So we were driven by creating binocular type devices, which we have created for some in-office type of purposes. We actually have binocular versions of devices. When you go from a monocular to a binocular, it sounds, oh, you just put two of them together. It's not that easy. So you have to worry about things like the pupillary distance, and it gets into lots of human factors engineering that you don't have with a monocular device. So that was a drive. Now, one of the things that we've kept as a constant is to use a low-cost vehicle for the user. In other words, we don't have a special display or a special computer that we sell. You just can use your smartphone. Now, part of the work too is evolving to be able to use um, applications that across different operating systems. For example, we support iOS, we support Android. That's a lot of work needed to support both, and then dealing with the app stores. One of the things that we evolved to is moving to pure web apps. So, in other words, it's just based on going to a website URL rather than going to the app store and downloading something. So we've evolved in that direction as well. So
Hmm.
we were driven by curiosity, and also we believe that going to more devices would expand our business as well. You know, there is a quest for accuracy and other things, and of course, the other factor was the regulatory nature of vision and other things. So we moved to a digital platform. When I started the company, I had no concept of creating a telemedicine platform. But after, a couple of years, it became pretty obvious that that was the way to go. So those are some of the factors.
What made it obvious that going to a telemedicine platform was the way to go?
Well, you want to provide good service to people and you want to grow the business. You want to work within the traditional avenues. A big factor was COVID. Okay, so COVID came, 2020 changed everything. And it more and more people moved to telemedicine, digital kind of virtual health, which, by the way, I believe is inevitable. If any investors are thinking about what the future is, you're going to have less doctors manually doing things in offices, and more stuff will be done online and through AI, as we can probably get into later. So we wanted to work in that direction towards providing a good service for people.
Okay. How has the company changed in the past 2 years?
Um, well, we've implemented what's called the term is VRI. It's a virtual evaluation of refraction using artificial intelligence. So basically, using the same device, we've built web app that makes the testing much faster because it uses your previous results to tell you where to go next. With a device like this, again, I'm getting a little technical here. You have some slits that you have to rotate. I don't know if you can see them, but you need to measure the what's called astigmatism. So
Okay.
that's by changing the angle at which you perceive some lines, and you make some corrections on that. So if someone doesn't have astigmatism, which is a large fraction of the population, there's no need to make all of these measurements. So once you determine there's no astigmatism, okay, stop. You don't need to go and make people test more. So we've been able to speed up the tests by about a factor of three overall with this, and the accuracy is quite good with it. So that's one of the directions. That we've gone in, and we've expanded the telemedicine service, both through the software, streamlining it. So those have been the biggest changes over the last 2 years. We haven't invested in brand new large technology, hardware technology at this point. It's mainly been, and we have a business model, we have a device, we know the technology works. What do we do with it in the future? And we're still, grappling with that issue, of course. But that's sort of where we've been. We've also, in the last 3 years, we went to the B2B model with the optical stores, and we created a very nice device which is called Insight Pro, which is an in-house testing platform where we provide the tablet and smartphone and a binocular viewer, and people can take the battery of tests with that. It goes directly into our platforms, integrated directly in. So there's a lot of things that we're working
And
on.
how has AI, if at all, helped in user error
Yeah.
of using the device?
Uh, in terms of user error, we get uh, somewhat better performance because of what I just described. We have an algorithm that eliminates the need to do lots of testing. So that's been there, but the potential for using AI is vast, and we are going to harness it. We're beginning to now, but the benefits with AI are orders of magnitude kind of benefits, I would say. Yeah.
So let's dive into that because there are benefits, it seems like, on both sides of the business, on improving the technology and how it's used, but then also on the business model itself. So on the technology, how are you utilizing AI today?
Well, in terms of just the speed of software development, as I said, we're moving more and more to web apps. We can get stuff developed with much fewer people. In fact, a handful of people can do the work of what before was maybe 10 to 15 persons. Okay, that's a big deal. So being able to do that is a big cost saver and a time saver. So I suspect that will get better. We are as company goes forward, we're going to be using more and more AI in our implementations. So for
Where
code gen,
does
it's very good.
where does AI augment the business versus replace? I guess in the developers, it replaces some
That's a case
personnel.
of replacement. I mean, in a way, augmenting replacement. It's not a there's not a fine line
Yeah.
when I think about it. But the other area is in the customer support. With our testing requires it's a subjective test, meaning the user has to look at a pattern that they see on a phone through the device and make a judgment, and then enter that. So there's a number of steps required. This is a human intervention, okay? It requires effort on the part of the person. That subjective nature of testing is not going to change. The best person to tell how well your eyes are working is you. It's your brain. It's what you see. So that doesn't change. Um, but what happens is a lot of people, it's not a trivial test. That's one of the challenges that as we move forward, we want to make the test easier and easier. And however we can do it, there's lots of things we can do. So one way we can do that is through more active voice prompting. So the test, for example, will um, give you nice verbal commands in whatever language you like. Okay. Right now we have some verbal commands. I mean, the app talks to you, but now you talk to the app and it does things. So you can ask it a question, it does things. Building that um, type of interface would be very helpful if we done in different languages. Also, you can start to look at the results that the person is getting in testing, looking at the statistical consistency. If the consistency is low, there's a problem. You need to talk to them, or you need to say, "Oh, why don't you talk to support?" Okay. Then there's another avenue. There's another piece to this, which is the support piece itself. So people who provide support, we have users. Some users take time to walk them through. We have people with different um, skills, different levels of patience. In other words, patience as in the ability to stick to a task and hope for the best. So that takes time on our part of our support staff. Through AI, we can reduce that and we can begin to, we're looking at introducing chatbots and other things. We have some activities going on in that area uh, today. In fact, we're beginning to move direction. So I think that too will be um, useful. So have AI with the user directly to help them through the test process. That's for sure. And there's other things that are out there as well.
How do you envision the company changing in the next 2 years? I know you've gone through an evolution now. When you look at the growth coming up, what do
Well,
you see?
yeah, it's technology. clearly works. Now, it becomes, what do you do? Well, you do this. In my simple thinking, there's just two paths you take, and you kind of want to take them in parallel if possible. The first path is to continue to improve the product offering. And as I said, we're going to be able to do that through implementation of AI in a number of ways, which I've covered. Um, the other thing is to get out there marketing. Okay, direct to consumer business is not easy. It takes a lot of money. You're competing against other avenues. So when people look us up, they're dealing with companies that are not quite doing what IQ. In fact, no one does exactly what IQ does, but they're similar, but they have huge budgets. So that when you go to search engine optimization and stuff like that, the company would have to pump in a lot more money to do that. Okay, so we are look basically get more capital. That can be done in different ways. One is to um, get some direct equity investment, kind of like that idea. The other one is that the technology in IQ can live well in a bigger outfit that does similar things and act as a competitive edge. And it's a marketing vehicle that would be massively orders of magnitude greater than the market access that IQ has today. So we're looking at both of those. The goal is when you take a step back, technology really helps people. And there's the trends are in the direction for this technology. So if you look at the number of ophthalmologists in the United States, that number is decreasing, and the number of people going into the difficult process of becoming an ophthalmologist after they receive their MD, they have to go into the residency. Those numbers are actually lower than they were a few years ago. Less people are going into the field. Same is true in optometry. On the other hand, what's happening is that the population per person, the need for eye care is going up. There's two big factors that are at play. There's what's labeled as the myopia epidemic, which is that more and more people are developing nearsightedness, and it's happening at a very early age. Okay, a lot of that's attributed to the use of digital devices like smartphones and people spending less time outdoors. So you have this myopia epidemic, and it's huge. In China, for example, something like 90% of kids, by the time they finish high school, have moderate to severe myopia, which means they have
Okay.
to wear pretty substantial glasses or get LASIK, or it's a significant thing.
Is that
The other thing
genetic
is
at all, or is it really technology-based environment?
there's a there's a genetic component to it, okay? But there seems to be, and there is a strong environmental component. There used to be much less myopia years ago. What's the difference? People used to spend a lot more time outdoors. People didn't spend half their day playing video games at 6 inches from, from their
Right.
eye. So those two factors, some there's a big environmental component for myopia. That won't go away. Maybe you might find some kind of drug, some kind of medicine that can be used to reduce it. But basically, what myopia is, the eyeball gets elongated. And so the focus uh, that your eye lens does actually happens before it hits your retina, which is where the imaging should be done. So this is the problem with it. The other big problem is the aging population. Okay. After age 45, everybody has the need for glasses, with very few exceptions. And this is something called presbyopia. It's called your eye no longer is able to focus up close. It stiffens. The actual lens stiffens. The muscles that control the focusing ability of the eye lens decreases with age. So that's why you get people wearing um, reading glasses, right? They're called readers. So they act to magnify um, that's growing fast. And then you have the serious diseases like glaucoma, diabetic retinopathy. All of these things increase with age. Okay, macular degeneration. So there's going to be more and more need to diagnose people, and you can diagnose very effectively using online methods. So the market is huge, huge for this. Even today, large fractions of the US population do not get an opportunity for good eye care. There's just not enough of it around. And insurance is tough and other things. These
Mhm.
technologies reduce the barrier. They reduce the barrier with respect to price. They open up access to people. Almost everybody has a smartphone.
Right.
And so this is, and this was one of the premises we based the company on, that this technology would eventually become very important. So to me, it's an inevitability that it will
Yeah, so
happen.
the need really speaks for itself with one technology, the usage of it really expounding, especially the past decade or more, and then the
Yeah.
aging population. Given given the way you see the market and you see the market growing so substantially, what do you weigh when you're deciding between whether you raise equity or find a partner?
Looking at both, it gets into all sorts of issues. Some of them are, related to what people want to do with their life. In other words, founder, do they want to continue? Do they want to retire? There's that element in it. There's strength in the commitment to the technology, the commitment to do good. Some people may prefer to cash out. Others may prefer to continue to push the envelope on this. So those are the considerations that come into play with something like this. And it's
And
not a simple answer. It's not
no,
like, oh,
it's never a
because
simple answer.
if you sell to a good strategic acquirer that understands the potential of the technology, they can take this thing. They have the connections with the regulatory, they have the international connections, both business and regulatory. They can take this a lot further than a small company can take it. And the net effect is there'll be much more good done for humanity that way than trying to just build up on your own. Those are the issues that surround that type of decision.
Right, there are pros and cons, and one avenue may make the technology even more accessible and wider spread, and if that's the ultimate
That's
goal,
right.
that that could be one to pursue. When you think about investors in either lane, what do you think they really understand about the business, and what is most misunderstood?
Most investors are looking to make money. As as I see it, okay? They want a return on investment. They want to know that the technology can work and it doesn't have any kind of regulatory snafus or other things. People generally want a return quickly. Um, so I think those are the factors that drive investors. A lot of the people I've talked to over the years, very few understand the technology. Very few even want to understand the technology. I've seen that. For someone to take on IQ, you need to understand the technology and you need to feel the need for it. So you need someone probably that has a background in digital health, public health, um, optics,
Mhm.
eyeglasses to really appreciate this.
What do you think the company needs to prove itself before you go down any sort of avenue?
Well, it's proving it now. This is not like a pre-revenue company. It's not like um, a startup. There's a lot of practical expertise that's been developed. There's a market there, so the company is at a good position to look for for these sorts of possibilities right now. Uh, so that's kind of my vague answer to that.
If you were starting IQ today and in this capital environment and then with this AI environment, what would you do differently?
Boy, that's a great question. That's a really hard question to answer. It's so hard to predict the future. It's so hard to be a Monday morning quarterback. Um, I started the company after many years working in aerospace business, working in government, working in physics, those type of areas. Um, I personally started this with a friend who was in the eyeglass business. In fact, he was the founder of one of the most successful online eyeglass companies in the world. That's a company called Zenni Optical. His name was Tibor Lakse. And, I came in and after he approached me and says, can we do something to test glasses online? And, I said, sounds like an interesting idea. So I came into it mainly as a technologist. I do wear eyeglasses, but I was not a so much. I was the arms and legs, so to speak, to make the technology work. And Tibor was the true visionary who saw this, and he saw this way before anybody else. He saw this back in the early 2000s, how eventually eye testing and more telemedicine would occur. He was clearly well versed in that in the beginning. So what I know today, um, knowing where AI is going, I would start a company with an AI focus. When we started the company, the technology focus was cloud services, right? That's where, and so we set up basically a cloud service for IQ. Now we would set up a cloud service, but built on a heavy AI platform. That clearly would be the way to do it. You still need, now here's a point though, AI can do certain things. So AI can help you in design and other things, but you still need to build stuff. You still need to build hardware, little
Mm,
materials and focusing elements and other things. And you still need to have humans in the loop. We have eyes, we test eyes. So there's going to always be a, uh, simply speaking, a hardware component to this type of technology. Refraction is the art of bending light. Refraction means the bending of light. You can't bend light just with pure AI software. No, you need a physical device to do that. But AI will help with generating optimal designs for which to go build devices. So that is true. So, but there's going to be an element of hardware always through any kind of medical testing, I
right.
believe. Yeah.
I think that's a good point because we often talk about how much AI can do and how fast it's moving, but in all AI uses, there's a human element, and having the human in the loop, especially when it comes to healthcare, is essential. And I,
And
I
it
think you
really
make a
is.
great point there.
There's so much AI hype out there. And it's created the potential for the technology is tremendous. Dangers in the technology are tremendous as well. Okay, so AI, I spend personally time now on AI safety regulation. I'm looking, what's the implication of the socioeconomic implications of these systems? Again, once it plays into with less jobs around for people, you're going to have people doing more and more at-home diagnostics. So again, that plays into where IQ is headed. But in general, there's a lot of hype, and the trouble with it is that people expect results too quickly. Okay, so you have people going out there and saying, "Oh, there won't be any jobs in a year." And or there's going to be massive changes to the economy. It's not going to happen that fast. It's going to happen, but it's going to be longer. So I think investors need to kind of keep that in mind. If they're being hyped by someone about, oh, we can get this thing built in 3 months, and automatically generate code, and all we just have to do 5, state what we want, and all of a sudden the code pops out. It isn't that easy, but in the long run, the potential's huge.
Yeah, I
It's
think
awesome.
I agree with you. I think the potential is there, and that's the ending our conversation today is on a great note that the potential is huge. And I really thank you for this thoughtful discussion and getting into the tension between technology and capital and the how much IQ itself has the potential to grow and perhaps find capital to grow or the right strategic partner. This has been a great discussion. Thank you.
Amanda's pleasure.